Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and I apologize. This is actually the second time I'm doing this. The first time I did it, I shared the wrong screen. So I had to delete the old video, and I'm going to just kind of redo it. So I'm going to be going over the approach to this week's MMA slate, which I think is kind of difficult. I know exactly who I want to play, but it's kind of difficult to get everybody in. So I guess DraftKings did a really nice job of that. So what I'm going to do, I do have my approach, and I think this is the way you're supposed to approach this. And we'll just go right through it. So normally what I would do is I would just kind of highlight all the different plays where the fight rates to finish inside the distance. And we're going to do that, but I'm not going to go through all 15 fights. So the main fights, let's start with Blades versus Lewis. So this is the main event, and the thing is that I feel as though Blades is actually going to be under-owned in this fight, and that's where I guess some of the value is going to have to come from. Is that I'm looking at his ownership probably. Well, let's just take a look and see what it looks like here. Is about 50%, but I really think he should be 100%. I mean, he has the style advantage. He's going to take down Lewis like 100 times. He's either going to finish him early or he's just going to grind points all fight long. So I think that the chances that he does not fall within the optimal is very slim. So I'm going to be looking to lock him in, and I recommend that you do the same. I think again where some of the value is going to come from is people trying to fade this, and it is only natural for people to play both sides of the main event. However, I think in this particular situation, I think playing Lewis is actually bad value. Now again, I could be wrong obviously, but that's what I'm doing. The other key fights that you want to keep an eye on, and two of them are very similar. Okay, let's talk about the two of them in the same construct. One is Dawkins and Oleinik. So Dawkins is fighting Oleinik, who is a older guy, like 45 years old with a zillion fights, and Dawkins is younger and he's going to be going for the really quick knockout. And the odds support this, and the style supports this, and all this stuff. So you want to have Dawkins in your lineups if you can, because number one, he's affordable. Number two, if he wins, he rates to finish it early, which is really good for DraftKings scoring. So he is certainly a key piece of this. Now, normally what I would say when I do my process is, okay, this is one of those fights where it rates to finish inside the distance, so I'm going to take some of both fighters. The problem is that the reason why this rates to finish inside the distance is not necessarily because of Oleinik. It's because of Dawkins himself. It's not like another fights that we've had in the past where guys are just going to be flailing at each other and one of them is going to knock the other one out. I feel as though if Dawkins wins, then it finishes early, but if not, if Oleinik wins, he could kind of grind out a little bit. So I'm not going to get like 50% Dawkins, 50% Oleinik, something like that. I'm going to either have Dawkins or zero, right? Which is not exactly true because I'm going to probably get a little bit of Oleinik in certain spots. Because, I mean, as we get to this, Dawkins himself is going to be about 40% owned as well. The reason why I mentioned this is very similar to another fight, which is you could basically give the same narrative. Is that where is it? Aspinall and Orlovsky. So this one is very similar in that you have a younger guy against an older guy, and the older guy's got a lot of experience, and the younger guy's going to be looking to take him out pretty quickly. And it's a very similar fight. If you take Aspinall, you'd like to play him because he's a classic DraftKings play. I mean, he's relatively affordable, 9,200. If he wins, he rates to finish it early, which is good for DraftKings scoring. And the style seems to match up for him. So likewise, as much as you want to get in Dawkins, you also would love to get in Aspinall, but even he's going to be like 30% owned. But that's actually not that bad. So likewise, this is going to be one of those cases where I don't have like 100% of the fight. In other words, if I don't have Aspinall, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to have Orlovsky. Because while I do think Orlovsky could be an interesting underdog here, you know, again, for leverage, I don't feel as though I have to have him if I don't have Aspinall, right? Because Aspinall certainly could win in, you know, in a decision, in which case, you know, I will rather have just had my non-Aspinall lineups be somebody else as opposed to Orlovsky. The next key fight is Hawes and Imamov. And this is, again, very similar. It has a very, very short inside the distance prop. It rates the finish very, very early. But the thing is, and you see it's very affordable, like we have an 8,200 and 8,000. But the reason why, again, the inside the distance prop is so low is because of the Hawes piece. So because Hawes is really going to be trying to knock him out first round. If Hawes does not, in fact, knock him out first round, then it's possible that Imamov can kind of grind the decision a little bit. So same approach to this as some of the others. I'm not going to have 100% of this fight, okay? I will have Hawes, and in non-Hawes lineups, I'm not necessarily going to have Imamov, okay? And I think that's the intelligent way to put this. And not surprisingly, Hawes, he is going to be about 35% owned as well. So again, nothing particularly earth-shattering here. The fight which I think I won't have 100% of, but it's a fight I really want to key in on is the Spirit. It's Landwehr and Arosa. So this is a fun fight because both guys are going to be going for the submission and scrambling all over the ground. And actually, I'm sorry, that's the Minner fight. I'm getting that in a second. Sorry. So Landwehr Arosa is a fight where, again, I think that both guys are going to be kind of getting after it, but I do actually like the Landwehr piece a little bit more. So sorry, I skipped the fight. I'll get back to this, but I do actually like Landwehr as a really, you know, it's a really big part of my lineups. But what I was getting at is Minner Rosa. So Minner Rosa is a very interesting fight because, as I said, both guys are submission guys. Are going to be just scrambling all over the place, and it does rate to finish probably pretty early. And the Minner piece is kind of interesting because he is only 7,400, and he's, you know, probably going to get submitted. But if he doesn't, then he'll probably submit the dude. So he'll be 7,400. That's exactly what you want. So we know the key fights. Now what I want to do is go back and just kind of just go over a couple of other people, a couple of other fighters I might want to sprinkle in so that we can make these lineups work. And none of them are going to feel particularly comfortable, but this is just who I particularly like. Is the first guy I mentioned, well, I'll get back to it. I like Sabatini as an underdog, but the problem is that Alves came in 10 pounds over, so that fight's dead. Vanderhaar is a sort of a live underdog. This fight is a heavyweight fight. It could end, but the problem is I can't take Spivak. I just can't spend the 9,100 on him. If I'm going to do that, I may as well take Aspinall, right? Or I may as well take Dawkins. I just can't justify taking Spivak over him. This one, Dobson, is somewhat interesting. She's 7,700 and definitely has some winning upside. Again, it's kind of fishy, but you got to fill it in with somebody. And the same problem with O'Neal. If I take the other side of this, how could I play O'Neal and not Dawkins? I mean, that's kind of interesting. Landwehr, I talked about. I like him. Nobody from this fight, nobody from this fight, nobody from this fight. The other thing I might consider is, as I mentioned, in this Dawkins-Oleinik fight and this Aspinall-Orlovsky fight, taking some of the other side. Not all the time, but I will sprinkle in a little Arlovsky. I mean, he does have a lot of experience fighting an not unknown quantity, just a guy who hasn't really been battle tested as much, so you never know. And likewise, you play the, you know, Oleinik, same type of thing. Like Dawkins is fine, but Oleinik, you know, he hasn't fought 100 times for nothing, might have something left in the tank. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get as many of these guys as possible, right? So let's say you want to play Dawkins, Aspinall, and Hawes. It becomes really difficult. You got to play. Can you even do it? Let's just see. If you play Minner, you certainly have to do that. Then you have to play probably Vandera, or something like that. That's the only way to make this work. Or then what you have to do is make this one of those fights where you don't play Dawkins and you play the other side maybe. So it becomes pretty difficult, even if you want to play, say, Dobson, to make all this work. But you'll see. When you build your lineups, you'll be able to create some that you like. And if you have some opinions on some of these other fights, I'm not saying, to not insert your opinions in here, but I do think that these are like really the key guys you want to play. I mean, you want to get Hawes if you can. You can play a little Imhoff and makes your lineups work, but Hawes is the guy from that fight you really want to play in GPPs. Aspinall, same thing. Dawkins, same thing. But at least you make your life a little bit easier. And I really think you should lock in Blades. But just for the hell of it, let's just say like everything else worked out perfectly. Like what would be the benefit of not playing Blades? Well, what you would need all of these things to kind of hit, right? So you need Aspinall, Hawes, Dawkins, and then we would definitely want Minner, right? Minner coming off of that. And then who's the other? I guess that was it, right? We have Aspinall, Hawes, Dawkins. So you don't even need to fade Blades, unless you really have an opinion on one of these other guys like Spivak, or what you could do. I mean, you could play Rosa in this build, and then what you could do is, oh, sorry, you want Landwehr. That's what you need. So if you played Landwehr and then Minner over here, I mean, this is fine. And you could play O'Neill over Dobson, but I just feel like you're giving up a lot not having Blades. You need all of this. I mean, all 5 of these need to be perfect, pretty much, which is, and O'Neill at 8,500. This is tough. This is probably literally the only lineup I might play without Blades. Okay. Okay, and again, sorry if you guys got confused about the other video. Hopefully this screen share works a little bit better, and best of luck.